Welcome to the Finest Hour podcast, where we celebrate the moments that define success. I'm Ilona Pitt, your Finest Hour host, and today I'm with Andy Dawson, Managing Director of Siddall Hilton. Andy, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Andy, it's a real privilege to sit down with you, a seasoned leader, and you navigated through diverse industries, turned challenges into opportunities, and I really look forward to diving into this story because it's your first podcast.
Yes.
And you usually don't like to talk about yourself and what you do.
That's right.
And I think there's so much to unpack. So it's a privilege for me to have you here in the Finest Hour studio. So thank you for making the journey all the way from Manchester.
Yeah.
That's right. And before we dive into your story, please just briefly tell me about Siddall Hilton and your position there.
Okay, so I'm Managing Director of Siddall Hilton Products. Siddall Hilton have been in existence 125 years. Always been manufacturing something to do with wire. Currently we manufacture high security welded mesh fences and welded mesh for third party fabricators. That ends up in things like automotive, dog kennels, dog cages, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And how big is the company?
So we're an SME, we're 65 strong. Mm-hmm. Our turnover circa 28 million, and we'll process 16,000 tonnes of steel.
Yes, that's a pretty serious volume.
We're probably biggest in the UK currently, manufacturing welded mesh.
Brilliant. And where you come from, actually, it's always like, where does it start? And for you, it's been you've been an electrical engineer, right?
Yeah. So from prior to leaving school, I was always fascinated with electrical energy.
Yeah.
And you know why the light bulbs came on effectively. My dad was quite adamant that I was to go and get an apprenticeship, and I did. I managed to secure an apprenticeship in the early 80s when it was tough back then, and managed to complete an electrical engineering apprenticeship. Once I'd done that, I found myself going into industry and maintenance, electrician, electrical engineer, and ended up at a company called Plysu. Plysu were new to the area. They manufactured plastic containers. Plysu were started during the war and were an anagram of supply. Their core business was plastic milk containers when there was a shift from glass doorstep deliveries to plastic supermarkets.
And that was the start of the long journey with containers for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, so plastics, I found that I understood the process, and I understood how efficiencies made a difference, and why being competitive was so important, because anybody could invest in a machine, but not everybody could run it and operate it efficiently, and that was the key there.
Is this the company where you found this key mentorship?
Yeah. So I ended up as a day electrical engineer, if you like.
And you was comfortable in that role? You thought this is for a forever job? What was
forever
you
job?
At the time?
I think
because you can be like one of just some people just fall into a role and they're forever that. And for you, was that like this in your head?
Yeah,
then?
Yeah. So I always thought, find something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And keep doing it for as long as you possibly can. I was quite competent as an electrical engineer. The business or the site where I worked employed circa 100 people. Maintenance department of 20. They were seeing new investment or new machines probably twice a year, certainly once a year. And there was no reason for me to come out of that, because I really enjoyed making a difference, developing machinery.
Yeah.
And back then, in terms of efficiency improvements, we were looking at milliseconds, taking milliseconds off cycle times, and that was making the difference. But the site director changed, and a gentleman came in and saw something in me that I didn't see myself. For sure, I was really comfortable doing that and confident, and I knew it like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
He saw in me that he felt that I could probably manage people, be more strategic, and he taught me into doing some shift management. That was difficult for me, because I'd been working with engineers who had the same focus, same objective, same backgrounds, lots in common. We all enjoyed doing the same things. And all of a sudden I was dealing with people that the sellotape had run out on the group. And, you know, what do we do now? And
all the problems were coming to you. And it's like, I used to be so high up and now I'm dealing with sellotape.
Oh, yeah, incredibly frustrating. And probably at that time, I probably didn't suffer fools too much. So I probably wasn't great as a manager of people.
What do you mean? Was you like had a short fuse, or were you?
Not necessarily had a short fuse. It's just that I found it frustrating. And you know, I probably took that on rather than letting people know that I was frustrated.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out. Probably did that, I don't know, for about 8 months, something like that. Then an opportunity came up to be the engineering manager. Seized that with both hands. So it ticked my box in terms of the comfort zone. I knew my stuff, I knew my background. I had a vision and what we wanted to do with the business, and was allowed to run with it. A lot of the key people came along with me as well on that journey, and were also successful.
But there's always a point where your mentor would sit you down and ask you about how was your day, and you would say, today is amazing, you're so efficient, there's nothing else to do.
We got to the point where we were selling dust, which sounds ridiculous, but when
there's money in dust.
There's money in dust. So when you transport polymer and polymer granules, a side of that, or a cause of that, or an effect is that you get some dust, polymer dust, and we were just sweeping that up on a regular basis. So we installed some systems that vacked that off. We bagged it and we sold it, because polymer at the time was probably £1,000 a ton. And this was virgin material, so people bought it rather than us putting it in a skip. So we were at that level of detail. And as I say, my mentor was tough, and sometimes I kind of thought, this is too tough and it's unrealistic, but it helped me. So I'd go in his office at the end of the day, and effectively we'd have a wash up, and he'd say, right, okay, so what happened today? What are you going to do better tomorrow? That was his philosophy. Tomorrow has to be better than today.
So you always have to come with some ideas. You always have to come forward.
And we used to talk it through, and it really helped. It lent itself for some late evenings, for sure. But it really helped, and not only for me, but he was the same. And then we got to a point one day that for sure it was the best in class, and the company had manufacturing facilities all in the UK, South Africa, and in Europe, and the site that we were on was the blueprint for anything else. The structure, the systems, the engineering, and everything. And he said to me, "What are we going to do differently tomorrow?" I said, that's it, it's finished. We've done it. We've pretty much done everything. There's nothing else left. And he looked ever so stern. And I thought, all right, okay, this is going to be a tough conversation. And he said to me, do you know what the problem is now, Andy? No, I don't. He said, it's you. You're the problem. You're the bottleneck on this. Your skills aren't sharp enough. All right. So then I really thought, this is it.
That's tough, isn't it? To have a world-class facility.
Yeah, for sure. When you've done 3 years of this improvement, and it's best in the group, best in class. So
do you think this forged you as an individual and your standards on where you push things forward?
Yeah, having the tough conversation, because it had been so easy just to sit and hold it.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate. So he sent me away then and pushed me through a business degree. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And that's really how your journey with business turnaround started. And you found out you're actually good at it. That you enjoy it. And made a career out of it pretty much.
So back then, when I used to play with electricity every day, I never thought for a second that people were my thing. But now I'm through that. People are definitely my thing. I enjoy people. I enjoy understanding people, developing people, and find that I can influence people, and people will follow.
Yeah, and it's quite an interesting story because the business turnaround, it's not just nice stuff, you know, making things more efficient. There's also tough moments.
Yeah.
So, but in every situation, you mentioned to me, you've got a toolbox. So can I look into your toolbox and what's in there? Like for a business turnaround, what is the toolbox? What are the patterns and things that, you know, you always see when you go to a business?
Yeah. So every time you do one of these, you learn something, you add something to your toolbox. So for sure, my skill set is going into manufacturing businesses that are not working particularly well or in distress.
Yeah.
And the toolbox is the same. So you need to identify quickly who are the key movers and shakers, both positive and negative, and invariably they're people with influence.
Yeah.
And you need to communicate the objective, understand the problems, and without doubt put a measure in place. So understand what good looks like, give people a vision of what that good looks like, agree a time scale, and then benchmark against that and bring people with you. Create the right environment so people can fail. They're confident to fail and suggest things and win, and effectively you win as a team. Conversely, there's some people that just don't want to do that. They're anchors and they want to hold it where it is, you know, because it's better for them. They don't have to do any hard work. And invariably you just release these people to industry.
So you almost have to be like a detective coming in and working things out, like who are the movers or shakers. Yeah. Because people are the key to this.
Yeah, it's reading people. Invariably, when people are working in distressed businesses, they don't want to do that. They want it to be right. They want to work for a successful business that's there next year and in 5 years, because, you know, they've got mortgages and cars and children and that kind of thing. And invariably, they want to be part of a winning team. The majority want to be part of a winning team.
What about the part that is not part of the winning team? And, you know, because there's a tough part of it, of letting people go as well. Yeah.
So what always works with people there is just putting some measurements in place and measuring people against that. And at some point, either I or they recognise that they're failing and it's not for them.
Sometimes in a business turnaround situation, it's not even their fault, however, is there?
No.
So there has been, I think, points in your career that were quite tough for you personally, where you had to let people go for no wrong reason.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes some businesses can't be saved.
Yeah.
So it could be a site closure or, you know, a real contraction, and quite a lot of people, unfortunately, have to lose their jobs. I've got an experience where I did have to close a site, and that was really tough.
Yeah.
And for no reason, it was just a corporate decision.
Yeah.
And the rationale behind closing the site was quite simply that the company owned the buildings, the land and buildings, and effectively that paid for the closure costs. It was as simple as that.
Yeah.
The other option was leased. You know, so nothing to do with the people, and that was tough delivering that. And then to compound that, my children went to the same school as some of the children where people had been made redundant.
Yeah, and you had that daddy.
Yeah, so the children came home and said, you know, what's happening? What have you done to Billy's dad?
Yeah.
And that's tough. And that's when the reality comes in. Because I think when you're doing that, you like to put a mask on and think, this doesn't affect me, but for sure it does. And I can see that now.
Yeah, reflecting back. And you found your solution to that. Like now you've got a rule that you work at least half an hour.
At least. Completely different postcode. Yeah. At least half an hour, maybe an hour. And that's the way to get in the car and reflect. Yeah. So I pack everything up by the time I've got home. And in the morning I get in the car and unpack everything and what's coming.
So you think that distance help you mentally to do it? Yeah. Because there's people, but the distance make a difference?
No, because it gave me some time to reflect on the day.
Okay.
Making sure I were doing the right things.
Yeah. So you use your car time for reflection. You don't listen to radio music, no? You sit in your own head. Yeah. And sit in your own head, You're in your head, in your thoughts.
Or if there's nothing major going on, then I'll I'll listen to an audiobook. Yeah,
that's interesting. And in terms of like how do you cope with that mentally? As I say, you put this mask on, but on some level it does affect you. So do you?
Yeah, I haven't got an answer to that, but I just can pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I can.
yeah.
I guess that's how you're wired, I think.
That's how you're wired. Yeah.
That's how you're wired up. Yeah, I can deal with that.
So there's another thing I wanted to ask you about business turnaround is how do you keep people motivated during that time? Because obviously there's a guy, he comes in and there was a few other guys that came in and say, now we're going to do things different. But people don't have any trust in you as a leader, so you have to establish yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you're not the first person through the door to try the turnaround.
Yeah.
So the first thing you'll get is, well, you just sound different, you look different. Why are you going to be any different?
Yeah.
The last person that came in didn't turn it round and gave up after 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I try and do pretty quickly is share the goal and the objective with people.
Yeah.
Quickly work out the key movers and shakers and start to bring these people on side.
Yeah.
And share that common goal.
Yeah.
And it's important then that we get some quick wins.
Quick wins so people can gain.
See it's moving forward.
Yeah. There's one interesting story which I definitely want to get out there about. It's an anecdote about one of the companies you worked for. Was it Logoplast?
Yep.
About Legionella problem in a milk factory container.
Yeah. So multiple sites had a recycle process that needed water cooling. It was the right temperature for breeding Legionella.
Yeah, and it was a major risk.
Oh, major risk, yeah, major concern.
Yeah.
The health and safety people didn't sleep at night.
Oh, yeah.
And you're okay with Legionella, you can drink gallons of it. It's just when you breathe it in, if it's, particulate, airborne. So it was a real issue, and it was a real issue at multiple sites. As I said, we had really good engineers and we just couldn't work it out. And we were reinventing the wheel all the time and spending lots of money
and time.
Various sites were doing
meetings.
different things, corporate business, for sure they didn't want to kill anybody.
Yeah, it's a major problem.
Major problem. And we used to meet on different sites around the UK, wherever the monthly meetings were. And I always made a point of walking the site, talking to operators, talking to people to see what was going on. And I went into the area, it was actually in Newport Pagnell, and I went into the area and there was an old guy sweeping the floor. And this thing's steaming, loads of Legionella obviously. And I said to
with a mask, hopefully not.
I said to him, that's the same problem that we've got, up the road. And he said, yeah. He said, and I said, it's a real problem for us. We don't know how to cure it. He said, I've told them how to cure it, but nobody's interested. They think I'm stupid because I push a brush around. Well, okay, I don't think you're stupid. Please tell me. And he said to me, before I retired, I was a heating engineer and water cooling. And have you got a piece of paper? And he worked out all the delta T's and all this.
Proper calculation,
Proper calculation, yeah. The guy was a genius.
Yeah.
So I came away, ran up the road pretty much, got the engineering team together, told them the tale, and it was a light bulb moment for everybody. Well, that'll work. Small cost.
Yeah.
And installed it.
Yeah.
And of course it worked.
Yeah.
But what that showed me was, don't disrespect anybody, listen to everybody, and then decide whether it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Did you tell him at the time this is where it's coming from?
No, I never actually saw that guy again.
Yeah.
But when we met the month after, and it was always the first thing on the agenda, have we killed anybody?
Yeah.
Has anybody got Legionella?
No.
Have we fixed it yet?
Oh, gosh.
And normally the answer was no, we haven't fixed it. Well, yes, now we have.
Wow.
Have you fixed it?
He should definitely be the employee of the month, if not the year.
Of the year, yeah.
Yeah.
What a bright guy.
What a bright guy. So that's a very good lesson about listening to everybody.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, when solutions might be just waiting.
Yeah, and he's got a lifetime of experience from work.
Yeah. That's a really incredible story.
Yeah, great story.
I wanted just to quickly move on to Siddall and Hilton, because obviously you was in Siddall's for the business turnaround back in early 2012.
Yeah.
Did that, moved on, and came back as a part of the management buyout back in 2019. And you said to me that this is the best team you've ever worked with. So why do you think this is the best team you ever worked with? What are their qualities? And why do you think they're around you?
Yeah. Why do I think they're around me? Because we've created, between us, we've created the right environment.
Yeah.
It's all about culture in the business, and that has to start at every level, but more importantly from the top. You have to lead by example. You know, you can't just say it and expect people to do it. So the people in the team live it. You know, we've all got the same values and same goals and objectives. The difference with this team is that they all trust each other, and they can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And at times, you know, but we've got to make the decisions and get the right decisions because we're steering the business, particularly through, you know, some tough trading times.
Yeah.
But I've been in boardrooms before, and I've been in meetings before senior, and I call it the curse of the unsaid.
Yeah.
So the leader of the business would say, you know, this is the direction that we're going in. Does everybody agree? And invariably everybody goes, oh yeah. And then when you walk out of the door,
Yeah.
Billy says to Johnny, that'll never work, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll work. I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
So with this team, we don't accept that.
The curse of the unknown.
The curse of the unsaid.
Unsaid.
Yeah.
Unsaid.
So you've got to say it in
Alright.
the meetings.
Yeah. Or don't never say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or-
if it's on your mind, say it.
Say it.
Say it.
Yeah.
Put it in on the table. Yeah. But so many, and I'm guilty of that myself. So many people come out of a meeting and think, well, I'm not doing that, or that'll never work,
So
without raising the point. And you've
Raising-
got to do.
Yeah. That's the time and the place to do it.
Absolutely.
The meeting, not on the side corridors and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's great you've assembled this team and it really got you through the pandemic days. I mean, an absolutely stellar example as well of, I think, the pinnacle of your career, how you managed to navigate through COVID because you had so many industry contacts. You pretty much, because it's a totally different business. This is not in the packaging we're talking, but you was able to obtain the knowledge how to navigate through it through one of your previous companies.
So in the October of 2019, we just bought the business.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And myself and my colleagues had quite a lot of money on the line.
Yeah.
And Mr. Johnson came on the TV and said,
Close the shop.
we're closing the country. Oh my gosh. We had to do anyway because people were genuinely concerned. They were scared. But of course, we needed to get the business reopened. So we closed so we could have some time out to reflect and plan. And fortunately, I'd done some work at Arla Foods.
Yeah.
And they process milk, and cows need milking. So I contacted the health and safety people.
And you had a solution and reopened within a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and lifted some risk assessments to be compliant. And we did that. And in the end, a lot of the employees felt safer at work than they did going
so they
around
wanted
Tesco's.
to come in. I love that.
Yeah, so we were fortunate. But that's because of the contacts.
There's the contacts, and industry knowledge that you've built over the years. Just quickly to finish off, you said to me that Jeff Bezos inspired you, his leadership style inspires you. Could you tell me why? Yeah,
so I thought when I looked at Amazon and this thing, rapid growth, that the guy had been fortunate. He'd landed on something that...
Lucky.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah.
But I read a book called Working Backwards.
Yeah.
And understand now that everything he did was strategic.
Yeah.
And his whole ethos is customer centric.
Yeah.
The customer is really important. So I've learned from that, and I've installed that into our business, that the customer is really important. It doesn't matter what we think they should have. It matters what they think and their perception of us.
Yeah.
So everything they do is brilliant. And he led by example. You know, he was working 20 hours a day. Absolutely fantastic, and nothing was good enough. They had to be better. And if he had any spare cash, he'd recruit the best person he possibly could.
Yes.
And that's right through their business now, their culture. They're innovative, and they make mistakes. But yeah, fantastic. And I think the mission statement's something like to be the best company on the planet, on Earth.
Yeah.
You know,
can't go any. Maybe there is something more than, I don't know, universe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, the Amazon model is fantastic.
Yes, definitely.
Customer first.
Customer first. Brilliant. It's time to wrap up. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for your time and sharing your story. Through your story, we've learned we need to embrace change, value diverse perspective, and lead through challenges, So this is the essence of exceptional leadership, and that comes through your entire career. So it was a privilege to have you here with us today. Wishing best of luck for whatever is coming next for Siddall and Hilton.
Thank you very
and
much.
The team.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Finest Hour. Hope you enjoyed learning about Andy's story. There's some very interesting lines. I'm looking forward to re-listening. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I look forward to bringing you more inspirational leaders through more episodes of The Finest Hour podcast. Thank you.